Tag TV, and Tag Radio, rapidly becoming the leading technology new media in all of Georgia and the Southeast. This edition of Tech Talk is brought to you by Integrated Learning Services, integratedlearningservices.com. Wait, worry, or take control. At integratedlearningservices.com, increase sales, productivity, and client retention. Lower training costs. integratedlearningservices.com. Okay, you're probably like me, but you're not going to want to admit it. You know, you didn't really have a clue. You've passed the exit sign 1,000 times in bumper-to-bumper traffic driving on Highway 75. You know, the sign that reads Southern Polytechnic State University. But did you know? Did you know that it was founded in 1948? Did you know it serves well over 5,000 plus students today? Did you know that it spans 230 acres of naturally wooded landscape of Marietta, Georgia? Did you know it attracts students from some 35 states, 82 countries, and has earned an exceptional academic reputation? Greetings, everyone. It's Thursday, August 26, 2010, and this is a special Premier Member Showcase edition of Tech Talk with Technology Association of Georgia President Tino Mantella. I'm your guest host, Frank Baia. Founded soon after World War II as a two-year division of Georgia Tech, when it first opened its doors, the overwhelming majority of its students were veterans. In the 70s, it became one of the first colleges in the nation to offer a Bachelor's of Engineering Technology degree. In the summer of 1980, Southern Polytechnic separated ties from Georgia Tech and officially became the 14th senior college and the 33rd independent unit of the Georgia University system. In our premier showcase today, we're proud to introduce the Dean of the School of Computing and Software Engineering at Southern Polytechnic State University, Han Reichgelt. Co-author of over 100 journal and referred conference papers, Han also authored a textbook on knowledge representation in artificial intelligence. He holds degrees in psychology and philosophy and a Ph.D. in cognitive science. He's taught at universities in the United Kingdom, Jamaica, and here in Georgia. A special premier showcase on perhaps one of the least known, nationally recognized universities among Georgia's IT community. A look into the institution, its history, and its mission as we speak with recent TAG Premier Member, Southern Polytechnic State University, and its Dean of Computing and Software Engineering, Han Reichgelt. Han, welcome to Tech Talk.
Well, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to talk with you and your listeners.
Well, Han, you know, I almost hate to admit this, but I think more people would probably recognize Southern Polytechnic State University from the sign on Highway 75 than necessarily know much about it as far as the Georgia IT community. I can't even remember a time when I haven't passed that sign over the decades, and so I think a lot of people are familiar with the name, but not necessarily with the institution. Could you briefly kind of describe the institution and obviously go into its history and then maybe tell us a little bit about its mission?
Okay. Well, we are a member of the University System of Georgia, so we're a public university. We are a master's institution, so we have both undergraduate programs and master's programs. We have around 5,500 students, and all our programs are geared towards science, technology, engineering, and so on. So it's very much it's a polytechnic university in the sense that, you know, all these programs are computing, science, technology. We started in '48 originally as a branch campus of Georgia Tech in Chambly, but we became an independent four-year institution initially in 1980. And somewhere in between there, I believe in the early 50s, we moved from Chambly to Marietta.
Well, I'd be willing to bet you a lot of our listeners really did not know that. That's really very intriguing. And maybe now in terms of its mission, and I guess to a degree, the relationship that you have with Georgia Tech, is in what respects is Southern Polytechnic different from Georgia Tech?
Well, we don't have a formal relationship with Georgia Tech other than the fact that we're both members of the University System of Georgia. Mm-hmm. But obviously because of the nature of our programs, we tend to work very closely with Georgia Tech whenever we develop new programs and so on. So for example, when we brought on our engineering programs in civil, mechanical, and electrical a couple of years ago. That was done in collaboration with Georgia Tech. The real difference between Georgia Tech and us, other than size, is really the mission of the institution. Georgia Tech is a research institution, and as a result, research is very important to them. In fact, it probably is the most important factor in the performance evaluation of faculty. SPSU, on the other hand, is more of a teaching-oriented institution. So while research is important for my faculty as well, it's not as important as it is at Georgia Tech. Our first criterion for evaluating faculty is teaching performance. So it's a different type of institution, and because of that, we pay a little bit more attention to certainly undergraduate teaching than Georgia Tech can do. But the flip side is that Georgia Tech obviously does a lot more advanced research than we do.
One, you don't have a football team.
And we don't have, we have a soccer team.
Well, you have a soccer team. Very good. Okay. I mentioned in the introduction you're the Dean of the School of Computing and Software Engineering. Mm-hmm. Maybe go into a little bit deeper there, mine that a little bit, and tell us about some of the programs you offer in that school, and maybe go into the students. How big of a program is it? Okay.
We have almost 1,100 majors in my school, of which around 300, 350 are master's students, and the remainder, obviously, undergraduate students. At the undergraduate level, we have programs in computer science, software engineering, information technology, and a program we started last year in computer game design and development. At the graduate level, we have master's programs in computer science, software engineering, and information technology. And our student population is a kind of interesting mix between traditional students who come in, straight out of high school, maybe a couple of years out of high school, mm-hmm. and working adults. So we still have a fairly large population of people who work during the day and then come to class in the evening.
Now, you mentioned interactive digital gaming and the rapid and incredible, you didn't mention it, but the growth that's going on in that field has just been phenomenal. And I'm sure there are plenty of other areas that you are now looking as far as additional programs, as far as the broad range at Southern Polytechnic. Talk a little bit about the additional programs that you see in the future.
Well, one of the things that we're looking at and working very hard on getting off the ground at the moment is a series of programs in healthcare information technology. We know that because of the High-Tech Act that was passed as part of the stimulus
sure.
There's going to be incentives, financial incentives to healthcare providers and hospitals until 2014, and penalties after 2014 for the implementation of electronic health records. The problem is that, as far as we can tell, there isn't as yet the workforce to help the providers and certainly the smaller hospitals implement those things. So we're working on a series of programs, both degree programs, but also faster, more intensive professional development opportunities. The other area in which we believe there's a lot of room for growth is online courses. For example, in our Masters in Information Technology, which now has close to 150 students in it, you can take virtually every course that we offer, either online or face-to-face. It's exactly the same course. Students are examined in exactly the same way. They do the same work. Except that, in one modality you come to class twice a week. In another modality you do all your work online. And we've seen an enormous growth in that program because of the availability of the online option. We're rolling that out. There will be a path through the Masters in Software Engineering, which is fully online. And we're starting to offer more and more of our undergraduate courses online as well. So again, IT is probably leading the way in this way. So it should be possible to complete an undergraduate program in information technology, online or face-to-face. It really, what we really want to do is give students the flexibility to choose the modality that works best with their schedule and indeed their learning preference. I mean, some people really do like coming to class. Other people, even if they could come to class given their schedule, still prefer to take classes online.
Something that we've said often on this program is that if you're going to sell technology, use technology. So the other side of it also is I was watching a news report on the graduates of 2014 and about what they experienced and hadn't experienced in their lifetimes in terms of, like I've never been with a phone that wasn't tethered. I would think that virtual reality and virtual education has more to do with their work experience in the future than just the convenience as far as today, as far as delivery is concerned. So
absolutely,
I would think that option is pretty strong. Yeah. The other thing is, what great news as far as the healthcare stimulus situation, and what great wisdom on your part at the university to move on that and accelerate that process as quickly as apparently you are, to take advantage for not only yourselves but for the school and for the economy. Hats off on that.
No, I think it's absolutely right. And as you know, Georgia is well positioned to become certainly a national leader in the provision of healthcare, information technology products and services. And it's incumbent on I think, the university system in general to provide the human resources that are necessary to make that possible.
Well, take a moment now and imagine that you're sitting right across from a couple of students who are considering some options as far as where they might go to get a graduate program in computing. Han, what would you say? I mean, what really would be your argument on the primary reasons for considering Southern Polytechnic?
I think there's a number of reasons. First of all, certainly our programs in software engineering and information technology are pretty unique in the state. Our computer science program is comparable to a master's in computer science that you could do at other universities, but both our software engineering program and an IT program are unique in that they really are master's programs in the sense that they expect you to already have the knowledge that you would normally get out of an undergraduate program. And if you haven't done an undergraduate program in computing, then we'll have a number of courses that get you there. But it's certainly not the case that you could roll into our, say, MS in software engineering if you have an undergraduate degree in, say, economics or even engineering. I mean, there is some stuff you need to do. The second thing, and I've already touched on that, is that the focus of my institution is teaching. So the quality of the teaching that you will get in your graduate programs is just very high. It has a practical orientation as well, because we know that not many of our students are likely to go into a research career. Most of them will end up in industry, and we realize that. So there is a practical bend to what we teach, and as a result, we tend to have faculty, our full-time faculty have, in addition to a good academic background, many of them have some industrial experience as well. We often bring industry speakers to classes to help our students understand how the stuff that we teach them plays out in practice. And then the final thing that I would mention is the schedule flexibility. I already mentioned the fact that all these courses are offered both online and face-to-face, and students can choose the modality that they prefer. When we deliver a course face-to-face, we tend to do it in the evenings because that is better for our students if they're working. But if there's sufficient demand, we will certainly offer courses during the daytime as well. So it's the flexibility, the fact that we have unique programs with a practical, very much with a practical application in mind, that I think would make us a good choice for those students who want to do a master's program, advance their career, but don't necessarily see themselves going into a research career.
Now, I'm going to assume that the URL would be spsu.edu, or
the better one is cse.spsu.edu.
Okay, repeat that again, please.
CSE for Computing and Software Engineering.spsu.edu.
Well, Han, one last question, and I guess it has to do a little bit about community involvement and the participation by the university in terms of outreach into the community. How active are you in, for example, in an organization like TAG?
Well, we have just become a premier member of TAG because we realize that that this is the community we need to be part of, and even more importantly, I think this is the community that our students need to become part of. All of us, I think, in SPSU realize the importance of professional involvement, networking, and so on. And so I was very keen for us to become a premier member and make sure that not only our faculty but also our students get the opportunity to network with other professionals and to go to some pretty good presentations. I mean, 7:30 in the morning is not necessarily the easiest time for me to get to downtown Atlanta, but I try to attend as many TAG events as possible.
Well, Han, I think it's been an extremely enlightening conversation today. I think our listeners learned a lot. Again, going back to as late as the 40s, I had no idea that it had been around that long. Also, the connection to Georgia Tech, and, of course, the exciting new programs and the things that you're getting into. Southern Polytechnic State University, and, again, Han, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today on Tech Talk.
Well, thank you very much for giving me the chance to talk with you about SPSU and the programs in computing that we